So let's say I have this simple 4-note melodic idea. Today I'm going to walk you through the process of taking a short motif and developing it into a jazz standard. I'll give you some ideas on how to incorporate typical chord progressions that fit the style. Here's what the final version sounds like. To compose a jazz standard, it's essential to understand two things: jazz harmony and motivic development. Think of harmony as a map filled with the most commonly used harmonic paths. When I write chord progressions, it feels like I'm walking around this map, moving from one function to another. And depending on what I need, I can zoom in for more detail or zoom out to open up more possibilities. I know that might sound a little unusual, but that's the best way to approach it. First, let's find a chord that actually fits this little motif. If I treat the motif as a pickup to B flat, then I can land on a G minor chord. So maybe we're in the key of G minor. In G minor, the basic 2-5 is A minor 7 flat 5 to D 7 flat 9. So to establish the key, I can play a 2-5-1 in G minor. But check this out, if I extend the motif by just 2 more notes, it already starts to sound even stronger. And remember, in minor keys, the 5-7 flat 9 can also be played as an augmented chord with a sharp 9. That's why this B flat melody fits so beautifully over a D7 chord. Also notice that I'm targeting the 11th on the G minor chord. The 11th is a really beautiful tension to use on minor chords, but it's most often heard on a 2 chord or a 6 chord. So maybe this G minor isn't functioning as the tonic after all. Maybe it's the 6th chord in the key of B flat. And if that's the case, we've suddenly moved to a different place, a different part of the map. See, the 2-5 of 6 is exactly the same, A minor 7 flat 5 to D7 flat 9. That's one of the things I love about jazz harmony. The same progression can live in 2 different maps depending on how you frame it. If we are in G minor, an effective technique is to create a half cadence to end your first line. Targeting the 5 chord like I just did works great when ending your first phrase. But this is also a bit too obvious for my taste. So I think I can use a similar approach and target a D chord, but use a different path. Check it out. If I consider G minor 7 as my 4 minor chord, then we're in the key of D major. And we can target D major. And that sounds much better to me, more interesting and unpredictable. Now that these chords are being borrowed from D minor, you can see them functioning as modal interchange chords since we're ending on D major. And now that we have our first phrase, we can repeat the motif in the new key. Now we're here, targeting the 6th chord, B minor 7. But again, if you want to keep your piece interesting, always try to find cool twists. For example, we could do this instead. I move the 2-5 targeting the 6th chord to the last 2 beats of this measure. Now I can target a B chord on the first beat of the next measure, and I can repeat my original path in the key of E major, targeting the 4 minor chord. But is this what I really want to do? If I am back here on the map with the exact same motif, I'm going to be too repetitive. Yes, we're in a different key now, but still, I think it's much better to do this. So lots of new ideas here. Look, instead of interpreting the B minor 7 flat 5 to E7 as the 2-5 of the 4 minor chord in the key of E, I'm now thinking of it as a 2-5 of 6 in the key of C major. I'm also replacing the 5 of 6 with the sub 5 of 6. So instead of taking this path, I'm taking this path. It's a subtle change, but it always works. The reason you make these changes is to turn the bass line into a chromatic descending line. Now I can reinterpret the 6 minor chord, A minor 7, as the 2 of 5. Remember, this is a wormhole in the map. Both chords, the 6 and the 2 of 5, are the same. So you can travel instantly from one to the other. And the cool thing about this perspective is that now I can do a typical jazz turnaround, 2-5 of 5 to 2-5. And by the way, on the 5 chord, I used a modal interchange chord, G7 flat 9, instead of the regular G7. You can always do that on dominant chords. Also, the 5 of 5 in jazz works great as a 7 sharp 11 chord. So I'll make sure to play this D7 as a D7 sharp 11. So you write turnaround progressions like this one to either end phrases or sections. So it's really important that you reuse your motif somehow. If you look at the melody, you can see I developed the original motif on both the A minor 7 to D7 sharp 11 and the D minor 7 to G7 flat 9. Here's my original motif modalized to the A minor 7 D7 progression and shifted an eighth note earlier with an additional note. And this is also the motif, but shifted and inverted. Rhythmic displacement is essential when you transform motifs. And inversions are really effective because they offer an unconscious logic behind your themes. The original motif was a half step up, a large skip up, and then a half step down. And now inverted, it's a half step down, a large skip down, and a half step up. That's also why the G7 turned into a G7 flat 9. So this measure is targeting the tonic C major. But again, instead of walking right into the tonic, we took a turn and extended the line to actually target the 4 chord F major. And also by doing this, I have another measure to reuse the inversion of the motif again. Now we have 2 original motifs and 2 inverted motifs. Also notice that I didn't transpose the inverted motif to fit the G minor 7 to C7. If you do this, you get. But I'm doing this. This reinterprets the final note as the flat 5 of the C7 instead of the flat 9 as in the first iteration. It's still an altered note, but it's a completely different sound. Also, by placing the second inversion here, I get a compound descending line, which I used at the end to target the F major 7. Also, by doing this, we're subtly introducing yet another motif here. By the way, give every line a reason to exist. If something works and you don't know why, stop. Study it, name the reason that it works, and if no reason appears, choose one and commit. That's how you'll reuse transform, and grow the idea. Finally, remember that you can always use stretto, meaning compressing everything to a half. Bach used this technique all the time. The point is to take the turnaround and make each chord last half the amount of beats. So now it sounds like this. You can see how the turnaround only takes 2 measures now. And instead of resolving to F major, it resolves to A minor 7 flat 5. And this allows us to return to the initial path that surrounds G minor. So maybe now we really are in the key of G minor after all. And to establish the new key, you can simply play this. Or extend it by using a deceptive cadence to the flat 6. Which works really nicely with the sub 5. Or extend it even more by doing a 2-5 after that. Or even better, a sub 5 of 5 to 5. All right, so one last tip. If you need to turn around to go back to the beginning, you can always add a 2-5 of your first chord. And if you want to do a final turnaround, you also have the option to take the sub 2, sub 5 path, or combine both and finish with a Picardy third. As you can see, knowing all of these paths will help you write better tunes. Thinking of harmony this way feels exactly like walking around your town. Where's the supermarket? How do I get to the gas station? And so on. The more you know, the better options you have to travel from place to place. In the PDF, we've included the sheet music with all of the variations, and also the full harmonic analysis without chords in 3 different keys, so you can work on figuring out what the chords are for each key. And if you really want to explore all these concepts further, just get Mapping Tonal Harmony Pro and start learning the map. If you want a complete course on jazz harmony using these concepts, check out the Art of Reharmonization on mDecks.com. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next video.